Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Max Fuzani from the Ministry of Sport and Recreation. I understand we are joined by your colleagues in Pretoria. Good afternoon to them as well. We have here our Minister of Sport and Recreation, Mr. Fikile Mbalula, and the Deputy Minister of Sport and Recreation, Mr. Gert Oosthuizen, and the Chief of Staff in the Minister's Office, Mr. Steve Chabalala. We apologize for the slight delay in commencing the program. Today, the Minister will address you on two pertinent matters. So, in the interest of time, I will not outline the program. I will hand over to Minister Mbalula to then brief you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much. Deputy Minister of Sports and Recreation in South Africa, Mr. Gert Oosthuizen. Oh, this one. All right. Proper stuff. Thank you. Deputy Minister of Sports and Recreation in South Africa, Mr. Gert Oosthuizen. Ladies and gentlemen of the media. As a proud product of and champion of democracy, I begin by congratulating FIFA on their successful Congress held in Zurich at their headquarters at the end of February 2016. I trust that this positive step is the much-needed harbinger of courage and progressive thinking of the members of this august global organization. I have already congratulated Mr. Gianni Infantino on his election and assured him of our commitment to continue building on the solid foundation manifest through our good working relations, collaboration, fraternity, and love. The 2010 FIFA World Cup remains the most successful FIFA World Cup ever, and it is a travesty to label this giant achievement as questionable. South Africa won the right to host the FIFA World Cup based on merit and delivered most successful World Cup in the history of FIFA. The election has come to pass, and it is to the challenges that lie ahead now I turn. We convened this conference to address two specific matters of national importance that are pertinent to sustainability and growth of football within our shores and beyond. It is in the interest of sport on this occasion, football, the most popular sport in our continent and abroad, that of necessity we address the nation and the world of football. On the pertinent matter of the allegations of match fixing in the warm-up FIFA 2010 World Cup matches involving our senior men's team, Bafana Bafana. The recent media reports triggered by the Federation Internationale de Football Association filing victim statement and request for restitution with the United States District Court. I take the trouble of briefing you to ensure that you write and speak fully informed of our perspective and campaign to safeguard sport. South Africa refuses to drown itself in the blame and victim mentality game. The FBI indictment and FIFA orchestrated investigations are littered with explosive contradictions that we'll expose in the course of our presentation. For example, how is it possible that FIFA, being the subject of FBI investigation, becomes miraculously a victim and pretend that it is no longer FIFA? The blame is now transferred to other structures, and FIFA exonerates its own governing structures that took the decisions and that overseen the implementation thereof. It is utterly unique in world history where an organization turns on itself to disown the decision taken by its own governance structures. The failure of football's world governing body to regulate its own officials, as it has indicated in its press release, cannot be placed at the doorstep of South Africa and its people. It has inflicted the reputational damage of monumental proportions on this country, and we believe that FIFA must retract its statement. And as we come to this press conference, we note that there's been a statement issued by FIFA that states categorically that South Africa is not what they refer to, and what they are saying is based on their indictment, is based on the indictment by the FBI and the District Court in the United States of America. However, we are reacting to the news of that restitution and what it entails. The ideas propounded by both the local and international press are loaded with dangerous insinuations, which we will debunk with a rational confrontation. The narrative is not only flawed, but is without doubt seeking to achieve a particular objective by falsifying a historical record and thereby find our government guilty of collusion and involvement in acts of corruption and fraud. The truth, nothing but the truth, must be told, so help me God. I took this drastic step of convening this press conference, informed by the seriousness with which our domestic laws forbid fraud and corruption. I'm mindful that whatever steps we take, such must pass the test of legal scrutiny and rigors of the law. On the matter of the allegations of match fixing, you will recall that we have been seized with this matter since it surfaced and brought to our attention by SAFA in 2011. I dealt with the matter from a line function point of view extensively. In the light of information and compelling evidence placed before us at the time, I escalated the matter to the presidency by requesting the appointment of a commission of inquiry into the allegations of match fixing as they related to South African citizens and to investigate the role of foreign agencies. FIFA informed the South African government at the time that they were already investigating the matter internally. In order to avoid running a dual process, the South African government resolved to hold its own investigation in abeyance to give FIFA process an opportunity to conclude its own investigation. That process has been concluded, and we will meet with the presidency to decide on whether to appoint a commission or to take a different approach. It is common knowledge that the presidency resolved in its wisdom not to appoint a commission of inquiry and referred the matter to World Football Body FIFA for investigation. FIFA in turn appointed its investigatory chamber of the FIFA Ethics Committee to investigate these allegations of match fixing. The investigations had been dragging on for over 3 years, and I have been part of numerous deputations and made numerous submissions to FIFA appealing for the acceleration of the perennial investigations, as they were causing double jeopardy to the good name of our country and to the football-loving people at home and abroad. Now that the investigations have been finalized, the South African government is requesting FIFA to furnish us with a report in order to decide on the course of action to be taken. Quite clearly, the laws of South Africa would have been broken by those who have actually been found guilty. During my most recent meeting with the chairman of the investigatory chamber of the FIFA Ethics Committee, Dr. Colonel Bobley, Obi in Zurich, in the presence of the president of FIFA, Dr. Danny Jordan, I persisted with my plea for acceleration and bringing the matter to closure so that South African citizens fingered in the investigation can either be cleared or face the consequences of their own actions. Dr. Bobley assured me that the investigation was proceeding well and made a firm undertaking that he will inform me of the outcomes of the investigation as soon as they had unfolded. Regrettably, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Bobley did not honor his undertaking as he announced on the 14th of March 2016 the sanctioning of 3 South African citizens. Given my personal proximity to the issue at hand, I was taken aback by the announcement of the sanctions, as it was not in keeping with our agreement. Nonetheless, the sanctioning of any individuals based on the "it is not my call, it is FIFA's call." My only call is in relation to the process in which we agreed that we will be informed accordingly. That certainly is an aberration to the high moral standards that civilized women and men of honor should uphold. This is contrary to the stature and values espoused at the center of ethical conduct, a not-for-profit organization that owes its existence to the game of football constantly and promote it globally in the light of its unifying educational, cultural, and humanitarian value, particularly through youth and development programs. I'm disappointed that our African humanism has been reproached with inhumanity. As the ministry, we take affront to this unhelpful way of conducting business. We are not asking for favors or patronage. We are here for accountability, transparency, democracy, and respect of our sovereignty. I've informed Dr. Bobley of my disappointment and disapproval of his modus operandi and requested that the South African government be furnished with the report and outcomes of the investigation as agreed at our last meeting. We will continue to safeguard sport, promote transparency and good governance. To do that, we do not need to be made favors in any way. We will build these values now so that they evolve with our emerging and developmental state trajectory. Justice must be seen and perceived to be done. Those individuals fingered and sanctioned are within their right to take their own decision, either to ask for review within and outside FIFA structures. We respect the right of FIFA to sanction and deal with the perpetrators that undermine the glorious efforts of building football as the sport of the poor. We'll make our own assessment on the next steps to be taken in relation to the infractions that have bearings to our own domestic laws. On the second matter that has also been mishandled with no regard to international protocols and diplomatic channels, there has been no formal approach to our government to date. We are not in possession of any of the reports on the investigations. FIFA yesterday issued a statement indicating that they lodged a claim in a U.S. court to recover monies from the individuals who misappropriated funds by abusing their positions as FIFA representatives. FIFA alleged that the individuals abused their positions in order to funnel money allocated for football projects to their personal accounts for their personal use. One of the items listed as part of the restitution claim is the $10 million that was allocated for the African diaspora and the Caribbean region. The South African government maintains its position that the African Diaspora Legacy Program was a legitimate program of the South African government. The government will not apologize for this progressive stance to the African diaspora and for including the diaspora in the pride and honor of hosting the 2010 FIFA World Cup. To infer or insinuate anything else, including diminishing such an important part of the African continent history as an elaborate ruse to issue a bribe, is despicable. The South African government considers it an insult to reduce one of its hallmark programs that recognized the struggles and achievements of African people around the world to a mere caricature and incubator for bribery. FIFA has been running a trial through the media whilst targeting few individuals in its Scotch missile style of investigations. FIFA lawyers have recently written to 3 prominent football administrators in our shores, requesting them to answer a barrage of questions on short notice. Though the 3 eminent South Africans expressed their willingness to meet to cooperate with the investigators and FIFA lawyers, I've written to the Minister of Justice and Correctional Service to request this intervention by forcing these capricious lawyers from undermining South African sovereignty and work through the relevant law enforcement agencies and diplomatic channels when dealing with our citizens. I will ensure that we do not allow South African citizens to be victims of global syndicates and subjects of unfair treatment by global bodies that show no regard to the sovereignty of our state. I end by reiterating our stand as stated in our statement of May 2015, through which we inform South African citizens and the world of football that the $10 million was approved with the understanding that the funds be utilized either by FIFA for benefits of its member association or the 2010 FIFA World Cup, or as originally intended to benefit the Caribbean region. I've received a confirmation letter from the South African Football Association stating that The matter was above board and was approved by FIFA. It is now ludicrous and insane for anyone to seek to cast an aspersion on our country by suggesting that we're part of a syndicate to defraud and to corrupt our officials and businesses involved in football. As we stated, the SA government at its disposal has information at its disposal and a letter from FIFA wherein it confirms a legacy program of $80 million, $70 million for an African legacy program and $10 million for the African diaspora legacy program. This does not mean that the African members of the FIFA Executive Committee were also bribed by the $70 million legacy program. That is an important question I'm seeking an answer to from FIFA and audited reports on the utilization of these funds. The SA government considered it an insult to reduce one of its hallmark programs that recognized the struggles and achievements of the African people around the world to a mere caricature and incubator for bribery. The insinuation that by FIFA in its statement on the illicit relationship between South Africa and Mr. Warner is contemptible. Mr. Warner was hosted not only by South Africa, also by countless other countries, including the President of the United States, the English and the German governments. Why characterize only his relationship with South Africa as illicit? South Africa did not pay a bribe, nor did it conspire to illegally attain the rights to host the 2010 FIFA World Cup. The information that has been reported by FIFA is rehashed information from the indictments. There is therefore now new evidence to occasion drastic action to be taken against any individuals. There is no new evidence that occasion drastic action to be taken against any individuals. We'll take this matter vigorously with FIFA in a meeting that we have requested together with SAFA to be convened. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. We'll now open the floor for questions. We'll now open the floor for questions, and thank you to the Minister for the input. So we'll take two questions here first, and then we'll follow up with the other questions. I'll just ask that we keep our questions short. The Minister and the Deputy Minister have to be in the House. Yes, you will get the statement later. I'll take you, and then I saw another hand in front here to you, and then you. Okay, we'll take those first three questions. Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
Thank you. Marina Lamprecht from netvat24.com. Minister, if South Africa gave the $10 million in good faith, like you say, did the SA government ever follow up to make sure that $10 million is being spent on the diaspora program? And if you did not follow up, why not? Is it not the responsibility of the government to make sure this money is spent the way it was supposed to? Thank you.
Thank you very much. You, ma'am.
Minister, I'm Abra Barbie of the SABC. Minister, I have to ask this question. Were you or were you not informed by the Guptas that you will be getting this position that you are currently in?
No, I don't think that's a sport-related question.
I'm not going to answer that question.
It is a sport-related question related to the ministry.
Question. I'm not going to answer that question. We are not governed by Guptas. We are not run by Guptas. We are not here for Guptas. We are here for sports. Yes. If you want to ask me a question, ask me indirectly. Out of this particular press conference. Okay.
Let's focus on the match fixing allegation as well as the issues relating to the report from the American lawyers. So anything outside that we're not going to take as a question relevant to this conference. Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, Minister, I just want to support my colleague from the SABC. You know, your aspersions have been cast on your reputation with regard to a job offer from the Guptas, and I think now's a very good time for you to clear your reputation.
I'm very sorry, ma'am. I am not going to entertain any aspersions that are based on fiction. If I felt the need to clarify any issue, it will be substantive.
Thank
and
you,
the fact of the matter is that I owe nobody any explanation. The onus is on those who make such allegations to prove them. I'm not going to join the chorus which I don't know who is the conductor. I am in charge of my own destination. And I don't just dance to music that I've never composed. I compose my own sound. So for those who have composed the Gupta's chorus, let them sing for it. I'm Fikile Mbalula, Minister of the ANC, appointed by Jacob Zuma, seconded by African National Congress. Those who have composed the chorus of the Guptas, let them dance to it. I don't dance to that tune. I'm here to address issues that relate to FIFA, and not that I'm avoiding that question, but for now, that is the issue at hand. And if I felt that it is important for me, indeed, to dance to the tune and to join the chorus, I would have done that a long time ago. I'm moving and I'm going ahead. I never feel that my reputation is at stake at any given point in time.
Thank you, Minister.
Can we proceed?
Yes. Is there any other question in relation to the topic that we are addressing today? Yes. Yes.
Minister, you said that the payment was approved by FIFA. The 10 million that FIFA had knowledge of it and has approved it. But subsequently that FIFA administration has been discredited. Do you still hold any, or is it still valid to hold as a proof that the FIFA administration approved that 10 million?
Can I ask the Minister to deal with these two questions in relation to accountability on the spending of the funding?
Yeah, first, with regard to 10 million and whether there was a follow-up, we have answered that question before. But for the sake of those who did not and who were not there, we can answer it again. First and foremost, I want to clarify that our reaction is not to rehash what we said before. We have answered these questions. Our reaction is what you reported yesterday based on the lodging of the restitution by FIFA. Let's keep track with that. But I will forgive you because not all of you are sports journalists. So you relate with these issues on intervals. But for those who are in sports, they will know that we did relate to this issue extensively. Now, yesterday, what FIFA said in its lodging of restitution was to make a claim on the 10 million that it was a bribe, based on the indictment by the FBI and the United States authorities. And then based on that indictment, you will know that Jack Warner and everybody else who's involved are now co-conspirators or conspirators, who some of them have been arrested and some are still fighting extradition from their different countries. So it's nothing new. So that restitution was based on the indictment by the United States authorities. And to that extent, today I want to draw your attention equally to the FIFA statement, in which they insist that they did not in any way implicate the South African government, as you reported yesterday, that were guilty as charged. What is before us in terms of the lodging of the restitution is what FIFA has actually lodged based on the indictment. And all of that is said is not based on any form of truth. It's based on those who have either been arrested or the information at the disposal of the FBI. And we have made it very clear, ma'am, in the first place, that we gave this money and supported SAFA for the disbursement of the resources on the basis that this money was for development. And the fact that at a later stage it came to our attention that it was not used for its intended purposes, and in fact it was embezzled and misused and subjected to fraudulent, it never even reached its destination. It is something that we frown at, and at the same time we're quite taken aback by those particular developments. Nonetheless, to answer your question and to be precise in terms of answering it, there were no measures that were put in place to follow up on that particular resource because it was going to the established institutions and bodies within FIFA. It went from FIFA account to the Caribbean. So it didn't go in the underground or through a suitcase, such that it is traceable where it went and from where it was disbursed from. So, and it came from the legacy fund, appropriately so, because it was an investment into legacy for the African in the diaspora. So we are very happy about the FIFA statement that clarified the issue and insisted that the South African government is not in any way implicated. For those who have not received the statement, I draw your attention to look at it quite recently, that FIFA explained that it didn't say that the South African government is. You will understand that in terms of the indictment, those who are arrested without discussing the merits of the case because it's before the courts, they make an allegation, or rather, they assume on their part that that 10 million could have meant bribery. Now, the matter is before the courts, and it is up to them to prove that before the courts. We have maintained our position that when we supported the money in the diaspora and the disbursement of that $10 million US, it was not for bribery. It was above board. It was not done underground. And that is the first point we need to clear. The 10 million from the BBC that you asked, that the 10 million approved was approved by the FIFA admin, discredited. You will say that it is discredited now. But we're dealing with people within FIFA who had all the credentials of a governing body internationally. And at that point, there was nobody who was discredited when this money was disbursed. And to make you understand, when this money was disbursed, it was not before, as it is put, and probably some of you will misunderstand. The money was disbursed to these people long after the voting and the bidding process. So why will you bribe people after the occasion? Post facto, you bribe people. You insist, no, I must give you, man. So if you are a criminal, there is no honor among criminals. That's why I always say that this is the most sophisticated, a very interesting bribery, that you bribe people after the occasion. Bribery happens before because you must ascertain that you are going to vote for me. But in this instance, this money, this 10 million, was disbursed to these individuals long after, and long after even the 2010 bid was actually awarded. So the bribery should have taken place, if this 10 million was spent for bribery, should have taken place before that. But remember, it is not us or FIFA that say that this money is bribery. It is those who are in the hands of the authorities who make that allegation. And now, it is really absurd for anyone to seek to suggest that we are hiding the truth, and at the same time, we do not actually say things the way others will want us to say them, to admit that this thing was bribery. It was not. And it did not come from the coffers of the South African government, neither did it come from the LOC. It came from the legacy fund, which was administered by SAFA. And that is how you must basically understand. And how the decision was taken, you need to understand that it was between government and SAFA and FIFA in terms of supporting the development of football in the diaspora.
Thank you, Minister. I will now take the last two questions. I've noted you, gentlemen, and you, sir, and then that's it. We're just running late.
Minister Mbalula, Jean Smythe from Eyewitness News. Just two questions, if I may. Firstly, you make reference to FIFA's latest statement. Does that come as a result of you being in contact with them since they made the submission with the allegation of the bribe? And secondly, how disappointed are you that Daniel Don hasn't travelled or didn't travel to the FIFA Congress? And in light of his mayoral duties in Nelson Mandela Bay and the fact that he hasn't responded to any of these allegations, does his position potentially, or do you feel that it becomes untenable?
Thank you. Last question.
My question was covered by Jean there about Mr. Jordan. Do you think there's any correlation between the ongoing FBI investigations and Mr. Jordan not traveling to any of FIFA's meetings since this news broke last year?
Yes. Is it a related question? Okay, just briefly, so that we can get the responses.
Alicia from City Press. Minister, when the NPA bosses, Mr. Abrams and Ms. Nomkobo Jiba, went to meet the Lauren Challenge, did they brief you when they came back to South Africa, and what did they say if they did indeed brief you? Also, do you know who are these South African core conspirators that the US has spoken about? And lastly, related to the questions from my colleagues, did you advise Mr. Denny Jordan not to travel to Zurich? Thanks.
Thank you very much, Deputy Minister. So you're just relating with the Minister that you'll take one question.
Your questions are incriminating. First, I think the FIFA statement, I think we came across that statement now. We didn't put any pressure to anybody. But I suppose it is because the world press and everybody were asking questions. It is unfortunate that it had to come from FIFA, but I think I've always said to our journalists that I've never seen so much commitment on our part to find South Africa guilty of a bribe. Is it ideologically coined because it is for political reasons? Or otherwise, you want to give your own government and country a benefit of doubt? Because I think in this particular instance, we owe you a better explanation, and which we did on several occasions. That's what we did. And among others, why Denny Jordan or Ivan Khoza will not be there is because there's no local organizing committee. When the local organizing committee dissolved, it was left with SAFA. And then and the South African government through the Minister of Sports. So there's nobody who can speak on behalf of local organizing committee. Anyone can speak and come from different positions. And if a matter is before the courts and you've got fiduciary duties on what you are executing, it is not advisable to speak helter-skelter and everybody opens their mouth about any other thing. It means that there must be order. And people normally say that, Mbalula, why do you speak? You were not there. Does it mean that every government successive, you wouldn't take accountability for what happened? There is handover in government. There was Makenkesi when I live here, even if I live peacefully or under, being reshuffled, there must be succession. Even if I'm angry, I will be called from where I will be. Please, when you cool down, we still need information about this, just to brief us. How did it go? That's how it happened. So there's been succession on this issue, and I was fully briefed on these questions. And I attended the last meetings of the LOC, and I was a member of that LOC. And so we take full responsibility with regard to that. And I've said again, if there are any irregularities that we are not aware of, we are prepared to collaborate with the American Law Enforcement Agency to fight corruption and clean off FIFA. From where we are standing, we did not run a corrupt campaign for 2010. And I will never connive or work with anybody who seeks to conceal the truth. So, in this particular instance, from the side of government then, and those who were in charge even in the LOC, we have consulted broadly and engaged with everybody to come forward with information, including those who were involved. We ask them to come forward. If there's anything that they know that is sinister, to actually come and brief us. None of them. We have heard of snippets of this and that from somewhere and so on. I'm not a spokesperson of Denny Jordan, with due respect. And I suppose what he would have said to you is fact in terms of his commitments of not going to FIFA. I'm very aware that Denny Jordan have been traveling all over the world, including attending his obligations. So if he was to be arrested, as you suggest, he could be arrested anywhere because there's Interpol. and even South African authorities will know. We've got an agreement with the Americans. So if they want to arrest Mbalula in South Africa, they will go through the prosecuting authority and then ask to question Mbalula or to question anybody. So we've got an exchange treaty between us and the two countries. So you don't have to work on some conspiracy that there is something that you know that we don't know. But at our disposal and our channels in terms of the Justice Department, yes. Once we received the indictment, the Department of Justice did confirm, even through a letter, you know that, and informed us that they received the indictment and they asked the Americans for anything in terms of their own agreements. But the concern of ourselves was that why did they go in public when we've got an agreement to talk about us before they furnish us with the information? Because there's no hostility between the two countries. There's no hostility. So that is the point. So there's no point with regard to that about whether or not somebody is running away or whatever that is the case. We don't know the co-conspirators ourselves. We can only make assumptions like anyone can, and we will not even venture into it. But the fact of the matter is that those who have implicated us or individuals in the so-called bribery mess with regard to the FIFA 2010, may it be about this 10 million or the other one that it is alleged, the onus is on them to prove and come forward with the facts that they actually have. From our side, there is nothing to prove that we think our officials and our government did that took part in illegality and disbursing of resources to cover up bribery and corruption. As a matter of fact, was I actually briefed? I'm aware that the prosecuting authority did go and meet with the American authorities. I don't run the prosecuting authority, so if ever they did not brief me about the content of their discussions, but I'm aware that, among others, this was the subject matter. So, what did you say? Did I advise?
Yes. Did you advise him not to travel?
Did I advise? No, I've got no authority to advise anyone to travel or not to travel. I said I've already answered that question. Yeah.
Sorry, just on his position, you feel that in light of the allegations that it makes his position as president of SAFA untenable?
Can you press there too?
Sorry, just in terms of his position as the president of SAFA, in light of these allegations, does that potentially make his position untenable?
Does make his position as president of SAFA
Yes.
untenable?
Yes.
No, it does not. There is no allegation against Denny Jordan that I'm aware of in this particular instance that makes his position untenable as president of SAFA. He continues to execute his mandate as the SAFA president, and that is it. So there is nothing that is basically untenable, and we continue to run SAFA properly going forward in terms of what is expected of the body and so on. All what I'm saying is that there's all of these things that have actually been said. And what we say at the end in terms of these allegations, we are aware, so that you don't get it elsewhere again, that these lawyers who are acting on behalf of FIFA did make submissions to individuals to answer certain questions, particularly those who were in the LOC. And in this particular instance, we think that it is important for us to meet with the president of FIFA and for whatever information that they want between us as government and SAFA. We are ready to meet with them in the next coming weeks to clarify all the issues that they seek clarity on with regard to the organizing of the 2010 FIFA World Cup. So that when they further make the restitution submissions to the district court, they do that from an informed position and perspective from South Africa. So we've got nothing to hide. We will explain to them how it happened, at what level decisions were taken, and that is it. And in our view, these decisions were taken within the legal framework, even within FIFA, including its finance committees, that finally transferred these funds to where they actually belong. So we will meet with FIFA on this point, the new president and all those who are involved, to basically submit to them whatever that they need as information on our part with regard to this 10 million.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
I want to hear that gentleman there.
You just said now for the first time, if I haven't heard it before, that
Mike.
Excuse me, sir. You said I think it's for the first time.
All right, coming to you live out of that press briefing in Cape Town, where Sports Minister Fikile Mbalula is addressing the press on FIFA's bribe allegations. Mbalula saying that FIFA must